Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm showing you guys how to make a no-bake Oreo cheesecake. For this recipe we used large and small Oreo cookies, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 packages of Philadelphia cream cheese, 1 full cup of sugar, a half a cup of sour cream, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So to get started, I've just placed about 15 to 16 Oreo cookies into a large bag, and I'm just smashing these with my meat mallet. If you guys have a food processor or blender and you'd prefer to do it that way, by all means you can. I just don't really like to get my machines out that much, so I always just do things a little bit of the hard way, but it's actually not that hard. It's pretty easy, and I let my kids do it, so they really enjoyed it. But you will get finer crumbs if you use a food processor or a blender, so keep that in mind. So I do have a little bit of chunks, and that's going to be okay because the butter is just going to soak into it and just mold the crust together really good anyway. So I'm just pouring my butter into my cookie crumbs and then just stirring that to coat. So you want to make sure all of the cookie crumbs get nice and soaked in the butter. And if you guys need to add a little bit more butter or cookies to this, by all means go ahead and do that. And so I'm just using a springform pan. If you don't have one of these, that's fine. Just make sure that you put a piece of parchment in the bottom of whatever you're using so that it's easier to remove the cheesecake from the pan, because we're going to be freezing this, so it is going to get stuck. And then I'm just cutting this to fit into the bottom because this is a springform pan. I won't need to put the parchment all the way up on the sides, but if you're using a different pan, have the parchment go all the way up so that it covers the whole surface of the cheesecake. And then I'm just throwing all of the cookie crumbs into the bottom. I'm just going to spread those down just to get a nice even layer. And this is a really big pan, so if you guys have a smaller one, your cheesecake is just going to be a little bit thicker, and that would actually be okay because this pan was so large that the recipe, I probably should have used a little bit of a smaller pan just to kind of make it a little bit taller, but it worked out great. It was perfect anyway. And I'm just using the bowl I had my butter in, and I'm just going around and just kind of smashing down the cookie crumbs to form a little bit more of a sturdier crust. And to just kind of level those off, make it nice and flat and firm down there. And then you guys go ahead and throw this into the freezer while you're working on the filling, just so that it can start to set a little bit. And for the cheesecake filling, I'm just getting my cream cheese into the bowl. Make sure that you let the cream cheese sit out for a good 2 hours before you try to use your hand mixer. Just go ahead and beat your cream cheese until it's nice and fluffy. Don't forget to scrape the sides of the bowl down every so often so that everything gets nice and combined. And if your cream cheese is cold, this is going to be really hard to do. So it's really important that you let that cream cheese come to room temperature. So it should look just like this. And again, I'm just scraping down the sides of the bowl. All right, and then I'm just adding in my sugar. So this was 3/4 cup, but I did end up adding another half a cup just because I wanted it to be just a little bit sweeter. Whenever you guys are cooking, and especially if you're making something that you haven't made before, taste as you go so that you know if you need to adjust your seasonings or whatever. And then I'm just also adding in my vanilla as well as my half and half. You guys check my video descriptions before you make my recipes because sometimes I do forget to mention ingredients at the beginning. So the correct ingredients will always be down in the video description. And then I just went ahead and mixed all of that together, and now I'm adding in my sour cream. And again, just beating that until it's all nice and combined and super creamy. Then I'm just taking 5 large Oreos and crushing them up in my hands. This part I would definitely do this way just because it's kind of nice to have the different size pieces. You don't want these to be completely crushed into crumbs. Having bigger chunks is definitely, in my opinion, a little bit better in this case. And don't add too many Oreos because the filling is very sweet. And then all you have to do is just add your filling right into your pan, right on top of your crust. This recipe could not be easier. Just make sure, you guys, if you're using this for a party or something like that, that you're giving yourself enough time because this needs to sit in the freezer for a good 4 to 5 hours before it's going to set up all the way. So just keep that in mind. And then you just want to go ahead and smooth that out. And I'm just going to garnish the top with some mini Oreos. And then when we served the cheesecake, we also added a little bit of whipped cream on top. So that's another thing you'll want to do at the end. But before you freeze it, get those little Oreos in there so that they stick inside the filling and stand up nice for you. And this step is optional. You don't have to do this at all. You could also just put some Oreo crumbles on top if you don't have these little mini ones. And then just freeze that for a good 4 to 5 hours and you guys should be good to go. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel before you go. And you guys have a great day and much love to you.